पेज नंबर 135 ही कंटिन्यू है। आंसर ऑफ द लेटर, आंसर सी द लेटर नंबर 17। आप इसका आंसर लेटर नंबर 17 में देखें, सेम आंसर है ये। Then 33, write a letter to a friend about a book you recently read. Explain to your friend why he or she must read it. Peshawar University 2010. Examination Hall ABC 4th November 2016. Dear Tahir, I am going to tell you about the book which I have read recently. It is the Holy Quran. It is the book of the God. It is page number 136. It is revealed on the last prophet Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was revealed in about 23 years. It consists of 30 chapters and 666 verses. It is a free from contradiction. It is Al-Hakim. It is Mubarak. It will always be protected from the change and alternation by God. It is Allah's eternal miracle that can never be reported or mimicked in any form or shape. It cleanses the heart from the ills of shirk, SIRK, and hypocrisy. It supersedes SUPERSEDES and overrules all the books revealed from it. It is clear, truthful, correct, and accurate in the account that it details. It is just and fair in its rulings. Tranquility and peace will descend on these who recite it. Quran is a complete code of life. It is the most read book in the world. The Muslims read it daily. A lot of the people learn it by heart. It deals with social, political, religious, moral and other problems that face a human being. It tells us what is good and what is bad. It shows us the path to heaven. It tells us about hell, a bad place, and tries to save us. It can only be touched by proper ablution. It is the solution of all the Muslims faced by the world these days. I advise you to read it properly. Yours sincerely, XYZ. 34. Write a letter to the editor of the newspaper on the problem of unemployment and unemployment among qualified doctors. Suggest measures to deal with this problem. Peshawar University 2010 and 2012. The editor, Frontier Post, Peshawar. Page number 137. Sir, with the courtesy of your esteemed newspaper, I want to discuss the problem of unemployment of qualified doctors and briefly suggest the way to tackle the problem. Unemployment is a social problem. It leads to corruption in the society. Pakistan is facing this problem these days. It is a breeding discontent in the qualified doctors. Thousands of the doctors are unemployed these days. There are so many causes of this unemployment. Firstly, the profession is overcrowded. The supply is more and demand is less. Second, the doctors are mostly interested to join the government service. Thirdly, the basic structure of our society is wrong. The parents send their children to medical profession and ignore other professions. Fourthly, there is a lack of economic planning. There is a huge difference between the supply and demand of the doctor. Fifthly, the doctor do not want to serve in rural area. The problem can be solved if we follow the following measures. The government should set up hospital and the dispensaries in the large number. Point 2, the parents should send their children to different fields. Point 3, the doctor should serve in a rural area. Your truly XYZ 14/12/2016.
अजीज़ तलबा, ये ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग आपके लिए ह्यूमैनिटेरियन डेवलपमेंट आर्गेनाइजेशन एबटाबाद के ज़रिए एहतमाम की गई। ह्यूमैनिटेरियन डेवलपमेंट आर्गेनाइजेशन एबटाबाद 2011 से अपनी मदद आपके तहत सेहत, तालीम और मुआशी खुद मुख्तारी के शोबों में बेहतरी के लिए कोशां है। इदारा ने न सिर्फ खैबर पख्तूनख्वा बल्कि मुल्क भर के नाबीना तलबा की तालीमी मुश्किलात और रुकावटों को दूर करने के लिए FA ता मास्टर्स लेवल की निसाबी कुतुब और कोर्सेज जिनमें इलामा इकबाल ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी के कोर्सेज भी शामिल हैं को ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग में मुंतकिल करने का एहतमाम किया है ताकि नाबीना तलबा आला तालीम तक रसाई हासिल करके मुल्क कौम की तरक्की और खुशहाली में अपना भरपूर किरदार अदा कर सकें। ये तमाम ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग्स नाबीना तलबा को बिल्कुल मुफ्त फराम की जा रही हैं। नाबीना तलबा के अलावा दीगर तलबा भी इस तालीमी सहूलत से इस्तिफ़ादा कर सकते हैं। ह्यूमैनिटेरियन डेवलपमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एबटाबाद, ईमेल hdoatd@gmail.com, वेबसाइट hdorg.net, राब्ता नंबर 03459541 यानी 0345 95 41 838।
Page number 135, write a letter to the Director of Education drawing his attention to the issue of lack of teacher in the English state school. Describe the classroom teaching practice and suggest some remedial measure to improve the situation. Peshawar University 2014. To the Director of Education, Peshawar, Sir, with profound bows at the respect, I dare draw you a kind attention to the issue of the lack of the teachers in the English in the state school. And this issue is very important because English is a compulsory subject in our studies. It deals with the future of the students who are the further builder of the nation. Most of the state schools are working without a teacher in English. If proper attention is not paid to this side, and the base bunyad of the students will remain weak, and these students often fail in their high classes. Proper trained and the qualified teachers are the need of the class. शायद यहाँ पे mistake है, need of the class. The proverb goes, those who know nothing start teaching, applies to most of the school. As far as the classroom is concerned, I may tell you that the condition of the classroom is very bad in the state schools. The classes are overcrowded, and the furniture present is mostly broken. In the most of the schools, the students sit on the ground. Most of the schools have no electricity. There is no chart or the motto in the classroom. Most of the schools have not been whitewashed for a long. It is therefore humbly pray that the trained and page number 139 qualified teacher in English be appointed at an early date. Furniture should also be provided. Thanks. Your obediently XYZ. 36. Write a letter to the editor of the Frontier post analyzing the causes of the failure of such a large number of the candidates in BA English paper. Peshawar University 2011. To the editor, Frontier Post, Peshawar. Sir, through the column of your esteemed paper, I would like to point out the cause of the failure of the large number of the candidates in the BA English paper. The cause are many. Some of them are under: number 1, English is the foreign language and it is always difficult to learn the foreign language. The way of the learning the language Zuban is that you learn in the language spoken by the people. Our students do not have these facilities, matlab sahulat. They neither speak English at home nor in the school or college. They speak their mother tongue and the national language. They feel shy, sharam to express themselves in English. They hardly study English for an hour a day. Even the teachers of the English have no command over the subject. The subject of the English at BA level is of the high standard. It is very lengthy. It needs full attention, matlab tawajjo. Page number 140. The students do not take interest in studies. They have a large number of the work to do. They often become a victim of the politicians. Number 3, they do not do justice to their studies. They do not attend their class regularly. They do not revise their lesson. Number 4, the base bunyad of students is very weak at the school level. They mostly study in the national language. The result is that when they join college, most of them are unable, naqabil to follow the lecture. Number 5, no importance is given to written and the spoken English, as the speaking and the writing are the basic requirements to understand समझना English. It is therefore suggested that importance should be given to the speaking and writing. The basic rule of the grammar should also be taught. The teacher should be highly qualified with the command on the subject. Your obediently, XYZ. Page number 141. Question number 3, 15 marks. Summarizing. Page number 142. चैप्टर नंबर 7, समराइजिंग. समरी राइटिंग में दी हुई इबारत का तकरीबन 1/3 के बराबर खुलासा लिखना होता है. हर इम्तिहान में एक इक़्तिबास दिया जाता है जो उम्मीदवारों से उसकी मुख्तसर करने के लिए कहा जाता है. दरअसल इस सवाल से मुम्तहिन ये देखना चाहता है कि आप अंग्रेज़ी की चंद सतूर को पढ़कर समझकर मुख्तसर अपने अल्फाज में किस तरह लिख सकते हैं या नहीं. इसी को अंग्रेज़ी में समरी कहते हैं. अगरचे समरी करना ज़्यादातर मश्क करने से आता है और उसूल इतने अहम नहीं, फिर भी तलबा की रहनुमाई के लिए उसूल दिए जाते हैं जो इख्तिसार करते वक्त जहन में रखने ज़रूरी हैं. नंबर 1, हाँ, अहम ख्यालात के नतीजे लाइन लगा लें. अहम ख्यालात के नीचे लाइन लगा दें या पर्चा जवाबात में किसी एक जगह लिख लें. नंबर 2, समरी असल इक़्तिबास का तीसरा हिस्सा होता है और एक पैराग्राफ की सूरत में लिखी जाती है. नंबर 3, समरी करते वक्त असल इबारत के बजाय अख़ज़शुदा निकात को सामने रखते हैं. नंबर 4, अगर आप ख्यालात की तरतीब बदलना चाहें तो बदल सकते हैं मगर मफ़हूम तब्दील ना हुआ. नंबर 5, समरी हमेशा इनडायरेक्ट फॉर्म में लिखी जाती है और थर्ड पर्सन होती है. नंबर 6, अपनी तरफ से ख्यालात का इजाफा ना करें और ना ही कोई तबसरा करें. नंबर 7, कुछ अल्फाज और फ़िक्रात के मानी अगर आप ना समझ सकें तो इन्हें छोड़ दें और बाकी फ़िक्रात से दीगर ख्याल समझने की कोशिश करें. नंबर 8, जहाँ तक हो सके समरी अपने अल्फाज में लिखें. नंबर 9, बार बार पढ़ने से अंदाज़ा हो जाता है कि इक़्तिबास किस तरह के बारे में है. नंबर 10, इबारत के इन हुसूल को जिनके नीचे आपने लकीर खींची है अपने अल्फाज में लिखें. जहाँ पेज नंबर 143, जहाँ तक ऐसा करना आपके लिए मुमकिन हो इबारत को बार बार पढ़ते हुए अहम ख्यालात को अदा कीजिए. यही आपका खुलासा होगा. खुलासा वो इबारत का 1/3 होना चाहिए. मसलन अगर इबारत 210 अल्फाज हो तो खुलासा तकरीबन 65 से 75 होना चाहिए या इनसे इतने ही अल्फाज होने चाहिए जितने के मुम्तहिन को दरकार हों. पैसेज नंबर 1, summarize the following from the pearl to about 1/3 of the length. Page number 11, Global University 2002. Chapter number 1. Kinu hesitated a moment. This doctor was not of his people. This doctor was of a race which for nearly 400 years had beaten and strafed and robbed and despised Kinu race and frightened it too, so that the indigene came humbly to the door, and as always when he came near to one of his race, Kinu felt weak and afraid and angry at the same time. Rage and terror went together. He could kill the doctor more easily than he could talk to him, for all of the doctor's race spoke to all Kinu's race as thought they were simple animal. And as Kinu raised his right hand to the iron ring knocker in the gate, rage swelled in him, and the pounding music of the enemy beat in his ears, and his lips drew tight against his teeth, but with his left hand he reached to take off his hat. The iron ring pounded against the gate. Kinu took off his hat and stood waiting. Kyoto moaned a little, M-O-N-E-D, a little in Joanna's arm, and she spoke softly to him. The procession crowded close, the better to see and hear. Summary. Joanna asked Kinu to call the doctor, but Kinu hesitated. He knew that the doctor did not belong to their race. Page number 144. He belonged to the superior race that robbed, disliked, and exploited the race of the Kinu for centuries. Kinu felt anger and fear. When he came face to face with the people that belonged to the doctor's race, he rang the bell with anger and hatred. The people who had come with Kinu gathered close to see and hear. Passage 2. Page number 144 continue. Summarize in your own words the following passage from the Pearl to about 1/3 of its length. Page number 16 to 18. Peshawar University 1, 1995 to 2002. Chapter number 2. Kinu and Jonah came slowly down to the beach and to the Kinu's canoe, which was the one thing of the value he owned in the world. It was very old. Kinu's grandfather had brought it from Nayarik, and he had given it to the Kinu's father, and so it had come to the Kinu. It was at once property and source of the food. For a man with a boat can guarantee a woman that she will eat something. It is the bulwark against starvation, and every year Kinu refinished his canoe with the hard shell like plaster by the secret method that had also come to him from his father. Now he came to the canoe and touched the bow tenderly, as he always did. He laid his divining rock and his basket and the two rope in the sand by the canoe, and he folded his blanket and laid it in the boat. Joanna laid Coyote on the blanket, and she placed her shawl over him so that the hot sun could not shine on him. He was quiet now, but the swelling on his shoulder had continued up to his neck and under his ear, and his face was puffed and feverish. Joanna went to the water and waded in. She gathered some brown seaweed and made a flat dam. Page number 145. Poultice of it, and this she applied to the baby's swollen shoulder, which was as good a remedy as any, and probably better than the doctor could have done. But the remedy lacked his authority because it was simply and did not cost anything. The stomach cramps had not come to Coyote. Page number 145 continue. Perhaps Joanna had sucked out the poison in time, but she had not sucked out her worry over her firstborn. She had not played directly for the recovery of the baby. She had played that they might find a pearl with which to hide the doctor to cure the baby. For the mind of the people are as unsubstantial as the marriage of Gulf. Marriage of Gulf. Now, came the Joanna slight slit. Can you CANOE slid down the beach to the water, and when the bow floated, Joanna climbed in while Kinu pushed the stern in and waded beside it until it floated lightly and trembled on the little breaking waves. Then, in the coordination, Joanna and the Kinu drove their double-bladed paddle into the sea, and the canoe creased the water and hissed his speed. The other paddlers were gone out long since. In a few moments, Kinu could see them clustered in the haze, riding over the oyster's bed. Summary. Kinu reached the seashore Sahil in search of the pearl. His wife was with him. He came near to his boat. It was his most valuable qimti possession. He had inherited it from his grandfather and father. It provided muhayya karna them with a livelihood. Rosie Kinu put his divine rack and basket tokri in the boat. Joanna put the baby in the boat. He was quiet now, but the swelling on his shoulder he continued up to his neck. She made she made poultice POULTICE and applied on his swollen. Page number 146. सूजा हुआ shoulder. They boarded the boat and began to paddle Chalana into the sea to the oyster Gunga bed. Joanna was praying that they might find a pearl with which is hired the doctor to cure the baby. Passage number 3. Summarize the following from the pearl to about 1/3 of his length. Page number 25 to 26. Shower University 1989 to 1993 2011. Chapter number 3. Kinu has found the pearl of the world in the town. In little office sat the man who bought pearl from the fisher. They waited in their chair until the pearl came in, and then they cackled, fought and shouted and threatened until they reached the lowest price the fishermen would stand. But there was a piece below which they dared not go, for it had happened that the fisherman in despair had given his pearl to the church. And when the buyer was over, these buyers sat alone, and their fingers played restless with the pearl, and they wished they owned the pearl, for there was not many buyers really. There was only one, and he kept his agent in the separate office to give a semblance of the competition. The news came to these men, and their eyes squinted and their fingertips burned a little. Someone had to take his place, and each one thought how with some capital he could get a new start. All manner of the people grew interested in the Kinu. People with things to sell and the people with favor to ask. Kinu had found the pearl of the world. The essence of the pearl mixed with the essence of the man, and the curious dark residue was precipitated. Every man suddenly became related to Kinu's pearl, and Kinu's pearl went into the page number 147 dream. The speculation, the schemes, the plans, the futures and the wishes, the needs, the lust, the hunger of everyone. The only one person stood in the way, that was Kinu, so that he became curiously every man and every man's enemy. There was the news stirred up something infinity black and evil in the town. The black distillate was like the scorpion, or like the hunger in the smell of the food, or like the loneliness when love in withheld. The poison sacs of the town began the manufacture of venom, and the town swelled and the puffed with the pressure of it. But Kinu and Jonah did not know these things, because they were happy and excited. They thought everyone shared their joy. John, Thomas and the Apollonia did, and they were the world too. Summary. The pearl buyers sat in their office. They were waiting for Kinu, who had found a great pearl of the world. There were not many buyers really. There was only one. He has kept these agents to give a semblance of competition. All the manners of the people were interested in Kinu. All the, I think so यहाँ पे members होना चाहिए. All the members of people, all the manners of the people were interested in the Kinu. यहाँ पर ये लिखा हुआ है. People with things to sell and the people with favor to ask. Every man suddenly became related to Kinu's pearl. Kinu pearl went into the dream, and the plants, the future, the wishes, the needs, the lust, the hunger, and the people. Kinu had become enemy of everyone. But Kinu and the Joanna did not know all this. They were happy and thought that everyone shared their joy. Page number 4. Summarize the following passage from the pearl to about 1/3 of its length. Page number 27 to 28. Flower University 2003. Page number 148. Chapter number 3. And John Thomas was squatted on Kino's right hand because he was his brother, asked, "What will you do now that you have become a rich man?" Kino looked into his pearl. The Joanna caused her eyelashes down and arranged her shawl to cover her face so that her excitement could not be seen. And in the incandescence incandescence of the pearl and the picture formed of the things Kino mind had considered in the past and had given up as impossible. In the pearl, he saw Jonah and Kyoto and himself standing at the kindling at the high altar, and they were being married now, and they could play. He spoke softly. He will be married in the church. In the pearl, he saw how they were dressed. Jonah in the shawl, stiff with the newness and new skirt, and from under the long skirt, Kino could see the could see that she wore shoes. It was in the pearl, the picture glowing there. He himself was dressed in the new white clothes, and he carried a new hat, not to straw but to fine back felt, and he too wore shoes, not sandals but shoes that laced. But Kyoto, he was the one. He wrote a blue sailor suit from the United States and the little Yanching Yachting cap, such as Aquino had seen once when a pleasure boat put into the estuary. All of these things Kino saw in the lucent pearl, and he said, "He will have new clothes." And the music of the pearl rose like a chorus of the trumpets in his ear. Then to the lovely grey surface of the pearl came the little things Kino wanted. The harpoon to take the place of one lost a year ago. A new harpoon of the iron with a ring in the end. Page number 149 of the shaft, and his mind could hardly make the leap. A rifle, but why not? Since he was so rich, and Kino saw Kino in the pearl. Kino holding a Winchester carbine. It was the wildest day, dreaming and very pleasant. His lips moved hesitantly over this. "A rifle," he said. "Perhaps a rifle." Summary. John Thomas was the brother of the Kino. He asked Kino what he would do then, as he had become a rich man. Kino looked at the pearl. He saw the picture of these things. He saw the picture of those things on the surface of the pearl, and that he wished to get but could not buy. Best clothes and the shoes of himself and his family. He further told his brother that he would buy a new harpoon and the rifle. He will be married in the church. He will buy a new hat. He saw many things in the surface of the pearl and expressed his desire to buy them. It was daydreaming. Kino saw Kino in the pearl. Passage number 5. Summarize the following from the pearl to above one third of its length. Page number 46 and 47. Peshawar University 1977 to 1984. Gomal University 2002. Chapter number 4. Thus in La Paz it was known in the early morning through the whole town at the Kino was going to sell his pearl that day. It was known among the neighbors in the brushers among the pearl fishermen. It was known in the church, for the altar boy whispers about it. Word of it creep in among the nuns, and the beggars in front of the church spoke of it, for they would be there to take the title of the first fruits of the luck. The little boy knew about it with page number 150 with excitement, but most of all the pearl buyers knew about it, and when the day had come in the office of the pearl buyers, each man sat alone with this little black velvet tray, and each man rolled the pearl about with his fingertip and considered his pearl in the picture. It was supposed that the pearl buyers were individual acting alone, bidding against one another for the pearl the fisherman brought in, and when it had been so, but this was a wasteful method, for often in the excitement of the bidding for the fine pearl, too great a price that had been paid to the fisherman. It was extravagant and not to be count COUNTENANCED countenanced. Now there was only one pearl buyer with many hands, and the man who sat in their office and waited for the canoes knew what price they would offer, how highly they would bid, and what method each one would use. And although these men would not uh, forfeit beyond their salaries, there was excitement in the hunt, and if it be a man function to break down a price, then he must take joy and satisfaction in the breaking it as far down as possible for every man in the world functioning to the best of his ability, and no one does less than his best, no matter what he may think about it, quite apart from any reward they might get from any word of the praise from the promotion. A pearl buyer is a pearl buyer, and the best and happiest pearl buyer was he who bought for the lowest price. Summary: the news spread throughout La Paz that the canoe was going to sell the pearl. It reached the neighbors, the fisherman, page number 151, Mahigir, the grocers, Ansari, the shopkeeper, the beggars, and the priest, Padri in the church, and the pearl buyer, all the wishes to have a share in the wealth. The little boys knew about it with excitement. The pearl buyers were very cunning, makar. Um, they were many and posed Zahir Khanna to be rivals, dushman of each other, but in fact they were united, matlab muttahid. They all were against the pearl buyers. Some time ago, they worked for the different pearl buyer and were rivals. It was in the interest of the poor pearl buyer. Now they were headed by one man. They had produced false competition, matlab मुकाबला, to cheat the customers, matlab ग्राहक. They had also heard the news. They were waiting of the canoes to get the pearl at the lowest price. Page number 6. Summarize in your own words the following passage from the pearl to one third of its length. Page number 47 to 48. Peshawar University, 1991. Chapter number 4. It was It was supposed that the pearl buyers were individuals acting alone, bidding against one another for the pearl the fisherman brought in, and once it had been so, but this was a wasteful method, for often in the excitement for a fine pearl too great a price that had been paid of the fisherman. This was extravagant and not to be countenanced. COUNTENANCED. Now there was only one buyer with many hands, and the man who sat in their officers and waited for the canoes knew what price they would offer, how high they would bid, and what method each one would use. And although these men would not profit beyond their salaries, there was excitement among the pearl buyers, for there was excitement in the hunt, and if it be a page number 152, a man auction to break down a price, then he must take joy and satisfaction in the breaking it as far down as possible for the every man in the world functioning to the best of his ability, and no one does less than his best, no matter what he may think about it, quite apart from any reward they might get from any word of the price, from any promotion. The pearl buyers was a pearl buyer, and the best of the happiest pearl buyer was he who bought for the lowest price. The sun was hot yellow in the morning, and it drew moisture from the estuary and from the gulf, and hung it in the shimmering scarves in the air, so that the air vibrated, and the vision was unsubstantial. The vision hung in the air, hung in the air, so that the north of the city, the vision of the mountains that was over 200 miles away, and high slopes of these mountains were swaddled with the pines, and the great stones peak rose above the timberline. And the morning of this day, the canoes lay lined up on the beach. The fishermen did not go out to drive for the pearl, for there would be too much happening, too many things to see. When Kinu went to the sell the great pearl. Summary: the pearl buyer were actually the agent of the one man. However, they gave the impression as if there was a competition among them. In fact, it was so in the past, but it was supposed harmful to the interest of the pearl buyers. Often in the competition to secure a valuable pearl, they paid the fisherman too great a price. Now there was only one owner, and the pearl buyer were really his agent. Each of them was considering his role in the cheating. They were going to play on Kino, yet each one felt excited. So if it would be a test of this skill as a pearl buyer. Page number 153. Test of his skills as a pearl buyer. Through they would not benefit anything from the purchase. It would be much exciting to buy the pearl from the lowest price. These were missed in the air that caused illusion all the time. Kino's neighbors had not gone fishing this day, for there would be too many happening and too many things to see when the Kino went to sell the great pearl. Passage number 7. Summarize the following from the pearl to about one third of its length. Page number 48 to 49. Peshawar University, 1992 to 1997. Chapter number 4. And the morning of this day, the canoes lay lined up on the beach. The fishermen did not go out to the drive for the pearl, for there would be too much happening, too many things to see when the canoe went to sell the great pearl. In the brush houses by the shore, canoe night boards sat long over their breakfast, and they spoke to what they would do if they had found the pearl. And no one and one man said he would give it as a present of the Holy Father in the Rome. Another said that he would buy the masses for the soul of his family for 1,000 years. Another thought he might take the money and distribute it among the poor of the lepers. And the fourth thought of all the good things one could do with the money from the pearl, of all the charities, benefits, of all the rescues one could perform if one had money. All of the neighbors hoped that sudden wealth would not turn Kino head, would not make a rich man of him, would not graft on to him and the evil limbs of the greed and the hatred, the coldness. For Kino was a well-liked man. It would be a shame if the page number 154 will destroy him. That good wife Jonah, they said, and the beautiful baby Kyoto, and the other two comes, that a pity it would be if the pearl should destroy them all. For the King and Jonah, this was the morning of their lives, comparable only to the day when the baby had been born. It was to be the day from which all other days would take their arrangements. Thus, they would say it was 2 years before we sold the pearl, or it was 6 weeks after we sold the pearl. Joanna, considering the matter, threw caution to the wind, and she dressed Kyoto in the clothes she had prepared for his baptism. The Joanna combed and bared her hair, and tried to end with two little bows of the red ribbon, and she put on her marriage skirt and the waist. The sun was quarter high, and when they were ready, Kinu ragged white clothes were clean at least, and this was the last stage of his raggedness. For tomorrow or even this afternoon, he would have new clothes. The neighbors watching Kinu's door through the crevices in their bush houses were dressed and ready to. There was no self consciousness about their joining Kinu and Joanna to go pearl selling. It was expected. It was an historic moment. They would be crazy if they did not go. It would be almost a sign of the unfriendship. Summary. The the boats summary the boats lay lined up on the shore. The fishermen had not gone to the sea. They were talking about the pearl. They spoke of what they would do if they had found the pearl. One of them said that he would prest it. Yes, one of them said that he would present it to the Holy Father in Rome. The second said that he would buy a message for the soul of his family. The third thought that he might, page number 155, distribute it among the poor of the lepers. The fourth thought to do all good things. All thought that the Kinu was a good man. It would be bad if the pearl destroyed him, his wife, and the children. But it was a very important morning for Kino. He was absorbed in thoughts. Joanna dressed Kyotio. She combed her hair and tied red ribbon. She put on her marriage skirt and waist. Kino clothes were clean. The neighbors were also dressed and ready to go with Kinos to sell the pearl. It was a historic moment. They would be crazy if they did not go, and it would be a sign of the unfriendship. Passage number 8. Summarize in your own words the following passage from the Pearl of one third of the length. Page number 63 to 64. Peshawar University 1994 to Gomal University 2003. Chapter number 4. Jonah watched him with worry, but she knew him and she knew she could help him best by being silent and by being near. And so through she too could hear the song of the evil. She fought it, singing softly and melody of the family, of the safety and the warmth and the wholeness of the family. She held Coyoteo in her arms and sang the song on him to keep the evil end out, and her voice was brave against the threat of the dark music. Kinu did not move nor ask for his super. She knew he would ask when he wanted it. His eyes were interest, and he could sense the very watchful evil outside the brush house, and he could feel the dark creeping things waiting for him to go out into the night. It was shadowy and dreadfully, and page number 156, and yet it called to him and threatened him and challenged him. His right hand went into his shirt, shirt, and felt his knife. His eyes were wide. He stood up and walked to the doorway. Joanna willed to stop him. She raised her hand to stop him, and her mouth opened with terror. For a long moment, Kino looked out into the darkness, and then he stepped outside. Jonah heard the little rush and grunting struggle. She froze with terror for the moment, and then her lips drew back from the teeth like a like the cat's lips. She set Coyote down on the group. She seized a stone from the fireplace and rushed outside, but it was over by them. Kinus lay on the ground, struggling to rise, and there was no one near him. Only shadow and the strikes and the rush of waves and the hiss of distance. But the evil was all about, hidden behind the brush fence, crouched. Crouched beside the house in the shadow, hovering in the air. Summary. Joanna realized his worry, but she knew she could help him best by being near and silent. She could hear the song of evil. She fought it and sang the melody of the family. Kinu could feel the danger challenging him to come outside. At last, he stood up and, in his dazed condition, went towards the door. Joanna was terrified and wanted to stop him. Kinu stopped in the door for a long time. Then he suddenly stepped outside. Joanna heard a little rush, the struggle, and the blow. She froze with terror. She took a stone and ran outside. She found Kinu lying unconscious on the ground. There was no one near him.